Now, this dilemma of iPhone versus Android never really gets old, and there is a huge reason why. Both of these are constantly taking cues from one another, and it shows in the evolution of each one. This is Francisco, and welcome back to the Dr.Fone channel. Today we will be discussing iPhone versus Android and deciding on which one you should get in 2024, so let's go ahead and dive right in. So both Android devices and iPhones are very good choices when it comes to the build, the construction, and the overall design, hands down. Smartphones in general have come in a really long way since their heyday, and it will show in a lot of aspects. Both are going to be really sleek. Android devices have so many different manufacturers and developers that you will inevitably come across a lot of different designs, but most do aim for something sleek. For example, the Pixel series features a very sleek and uniform design that works really well. You're looking at glass and metal for the construction of every device and the nearly bezel-less design of the displays as well. We've come such a long way that iPhones no longer have proprietary connectors, and they now feature a USB-C port, meaning that in terms of hardware, we have never been more similar. iPhones are also constructed similarly, and they now feature a smaller notch for their cameras that also serve their own function now for notifications and multitasking. In terms of the exterior, iPhones and Android devices have never been more similar. The differences will mostly come when it comes to the software, but let's discuss some of the features that these will share in common in the year 2024. Now, there are going to be many other hardware similarities when it comes to a lot of the high-end smartphones that we know of. So, for example, stereo speakers. These are largely available on so many different devices, and while the differences in sound quality between smartphone speakers is not that great at the high end, there are some differences that the trained ear can still discern. Gaming performance. This almost doesn't matter, but I figured that it would still be worth noting that both types of devices will be very good when it comes to gaming performance, and many of the biggest games out there that you would like to play on mobile will be available on both platforms. However, to some degree, there are some important differences between what an Android device can play versus what an iPhone can play because of the software, and we will talk about what I mean very soon. Camera setups. Smartphones, even budget ones, will feature multiple cameras. Normally, there will be single front-facing camera and between 1 and 3 cameras on the rear. However, the quality will vastly differ between these. Now, this will be extremely generalized, but please bear with me. I would argue that when it comes to photographs, there will be two things that tend to be very different between iPhones and Android devices. These being the overall sharpness and the color science. Sharpness also does apply to a lot of different aspects of a photograph between the two, with Android devices still having varying degrees of sharpness between devices, and iPhones being mostly consistent in their improvements year after year. This is to say that there are Android devices that can display a sharper image than the iPhone, and that can take sharper images, but the iPhone is always a great choice to go for regarding sharpness in the image. When it comes to color science, this is a little easier to quantify. Android devices will normally have more colorful and saturated images, while iPhones will usually have more natural colors, but these both look fantastic in practice. It's just that whether or not one is better than the other will vastly depend on your personal preference. So the biggest differences between Android and iPhone are really going to be in the software, and that is generally speaking why most people choose one over the other. Android devices do have some software advantages that differentiate them from iOS devices. Let's talk about some of these features and advantages first. Customization. Android allows for deep customization of the user interface. Users can change launchers to change the look of your home screen completely, add widgets that offer far more flexibility than the ones from iOS, customize your notifications, and much more. The flexibility offered by Android ensures that your device is always yours and that it looks like it was designed by you. Open ecosystem. Android operates in a more open ecosystem. This means users have the freedom to download apps from third-party app stores or directly via APK files, offering a broad range of app choices. Multitasking. You can do multitasking on both devices, but it is easier to do on Android and much more efficient too. You can do split screen and the like to generally get to do multiple things at once and use multiple apps at once. ROMs and emulation. This is a huge one for me because I own a few Android devices that have been designed specifically for emulation. You can very easily play many games from your childhood on your Android device very easily, which is awesome thanks to the file system within Android and its open nature. And there are also going to be some other advantages to using an Android device instead of an iPhone, but you get the picture by now. iPhones are going to run on iOS, and this is a proprietary software that will deliver on a lot of features that especially people here in New York just seem to prioritize a lot more. The ecosystem. So many manufacturers on the Android side have tried to create a similar ecosystem to Apple's when it comes to other pieces of hardware, but they haven't been so successful, and it has to be because of the lack of support. Apple develops other hardware such as earbuds, speakers, tablets, computers, watches, and more to work really well and seamlessly with their own phones. iMessage. This is another huge factor to many people because just having a messaging system that is built in and works so well across all of your other Apple devices, then it's just hard to argue with the convenience of iMessage and FaceTime and many other features. Security. This is a big one too, because Android devices do require a little more care to make sure that they don't suffer from malware and other minor bugs. On iOS, everything is so carefully curated and even closed out that it becomes too difficult to fall into many traps unless you're looking for trouble already. Which also does lead us into app quality and availability because of the careful curation that we just mentioned. Ease of use. This is a big one too because iPhones are inherently very straightforward and easy to learn, mostly because everyone knows how to use an iPhone and where to find many things, so asking other people for help and finding guides for things is much easier than what it would be on Android, where everything else could be scattered from device to device. And that should wrap things up regarding our comparison of iPhones versus Android. So let's finish things off with a proper conclusion. This video greatly condensed so much information, and we have to overlook a lot of things just to focus on the most concise details. So here's my take. Get an Android device if customization and greater freedom is a priority to you. If you don't care for having full control of your device and you feel that you will take advantage of the open source nature of Android, you will absolutely have so many options to look at. And I think that it is the beauty of Android. Now you should get an iPhone if those things don't really matter to you, and this will apply to most people that I have met really. If you want something that is easy to use, already keeps you very safe, and especially if your circle also features a ton of iPhones already, then it does make more sense to just get an iPhone in your case. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please make sure to check out our Dr.Fone software, which lets you do data transfer between devices, lets you back up your device's data, lets you change your location, and so much more. Links down below. Leave us a comment for any feedback or questions, leave us a like to support our channel, and subscribe for more content just like this. Until next time, have a good one and enjoy.